Hey everybody, my name is Matthew Sambanis, and today I'm going to speak to you about a personal, sensitive subject with the hopes of helping other people. And it is about a failed hair transplant that I received about 18 months ago. I did create a website, which I put the links down below. I created a few websites, as a matter of fact. So you're more than welcome to go review the before, the after, the during, the nows, photos. And, this has obviously been a personal, private issue. It's cost me a lot of money, never mind the initial surgery, which cost close to $10,000. There's been a lot of frustration, a lot of lost sleep, and the other issue is that the company I went with, Maxim Hair Restoration, has refused to do the right thing in any way, shape, or form. So my goal is for this video is to have 100,000 views, and the reason for 100,000 views is if 1% of the people viewing it, which would be 1,000 people, don't go to Maxim. Average cost for a hair transplant is $10,000. It'll cost them $10 million. And with what they've done, because if this is what they've done to me, then they've definitely done this to other people. They don't deserve the money. They should be put out of business, as a matter of fact. And if you're a doctor, because Maxim has practices all across the states and out of the states as well, you're guilty by association, and you're guilty for having a crappy doctor on your team who needs to be fired, in my opinion. And I'm going to go through everything bit by bit. This might be a little bit of a long video. It's also a little early in the morning, so I apologize if I'm half awake. And let's get rolling. And by the way, I read from my bullet points. I speak freely. So if you hear us or this or that, I apologize. It is what it is. My main goal here is to deter you or somebody that you care about to not go to Maxim Hair Transplant or Maxim Hair Restoration. And if you're wondering what a hair transplant has to do with a financial channel, because this is a financial channel, that's what all the other videos are geared towards. It has to do with A, investing in yourself, B, your self-confidence, which the more confident you are, the more money you make, and C, the higher your self-esteem, the more likable you are, the more other people like you, the more you like them, then the more financially successful you'll be. And so I looked at it like, hey, listen, if I spend $10,000 and I feel really, really good for one day alone from having a full, thick head of hair after getting 3,000 grafts transplanted, it's worth every penny. I can make that back in a day, I can make it back in a half a day, or whatever it is if I really, really work hard. So that's what that has to do with the facts, with the financial channel. And if you're Maxim and you're watching this, or if you're Maxim's attorneys watching this, if anything is wrong, if I'm mistaken, if I'm misspoken anywhere in any way, shape, or form, then please let me know, and I will issue a corrected video, or I will update this video. And if you decide to try and impede on my freedom of speech, I will file additional lawsuits against you in addition to the ones that I already plan on filing against you. And Dr. Lawrence Bernard, the one who performed the surgery, and the sleazy salesman Michael, who lied through his teeth and sold me on a completely incompetent, incapable doctor. And if you're Maxim, by the way, or Maxim attorneys again, and you're thinking about reporting this video to have it taken down, I just want you to understand I'm the type of guy that I will film 10 additional videos, and I will set up 10 additional YouTube channels geared just towards Maxim. So the ball's in your court. Actually, it's in my court, but if you decide to go and do something else stupid, and you're more than welcome to, but I'm letting you know I'm going to come back 10 times harder. And I don't care that you're a huge multi-million-dollar company. It's kind of like when you go to the circus and you have a 8,000-pound elephant, and you have a little fly kind of flying around driving that 8,000-pound elephant nuts. That's me. I'm the fly. You guys can be the elephant all day long, and I am the fly, and I will drive you nuts. So you want to go at it? Let's go at it. So anyway, with that being said, it's about a year and a half later. Yes, the subject of baldness is a sensitive topic for a lot of men. And obviously they have snake oil that they sell all day long to people, and then they have surgeries. They have different types of surgeries. They have Propecia for pills that you can take. They have Rogaine for stuff you can apply to your head. Whatever it is, they have a ton of, quote, solutions, most of which I've looked into. And at this point, I've unfortunately resigned to I had one hair transplant that completely failed, and there's more to it than that. If it was just that, I might not be that upset, but there's more to it than that, which I will get into. I'm using a derma roller pretty much every few days. I'm using Rogaine, and I go for microneedling now, which obviously stimulates hair growth. And the way that they work, as a side note, is by getting blood to flow to the hair follicles, which then generates the hair growth. I intentionally went with a big company because I figured they would stand behind their word. I can tell you that they don't, and that they didn't, and that their word that they tried to give me after the fact was utter crap, which I'll also get into. Anyway, so they have two types of surgeries. The first one is FUT, and the second one is FUE. FUT is when they cut out a big piece of your scalp from here to here, I guess, apparently, depending on which doctor you go to or which practice you go to. And then they count out each little hair follicle and then transplant it back up here. And in theory, the idea is the hair back here is not going to fall out like the hair up here does. Or they have FUE, which is where they go in and they take out, I guess, with a little needle or a little scalpel or vacuum, whatever, and they pluck out one hair at a time, and then they transplant it to here. And the benefit of that is you don't have a scar. The downside to it, though, is you have a better hair survival rate, supposedly, with FUT versus FUE. The other part is it's 2023, and from the research I did, I thought and believed that the FUT scar would be basically nominal, not like it used to be, or how it looks on the back of my head now, which if you go to the website, you can see what it looks like. It can tell you it's from about here to here. It's wide, it's atrocious, and I'll also tell you why that is. Excuse me. So, transplant was supposed to be for about 3,000 grafts. Long story short is I go in, I get a local doctor who lives in Melville. I'm in Huntington, for whatever that means to you, if anything. They give me a whole bunch of drugs, they numb up my head, and he cuts out a big piece of my scalp. And you hear it's definitely a little bit of a freaky thing hearing your scalp being cut out. I was half sedated, half awake, and relatively numb. As numb as you can be for having your scalp cut off. And either he didn't count, or he doesn't know how to count, or he didn't care how to count. Because what he did was he cut out a huge piece, and instead of getting 3,000 follicles, he got 1,800. That's an error of 60%. As a doctor, how do you make an error of 60%? You don't, unless you don't count, can't count, or are completely incompetent and incapable. So what happens is they then sewed me up, and then the technicians, there's 4 to 5 of them, none of whom they will give me their credentials for. I've asked multiple times and multiple emails for the credentials of the staff that worked on me, and they've not provided it. But anyway, they come up with 1,800 grafts, and the issue is that the hair follicles are then exposed to air, and the longer they're exposed to the air, the more likely they are to possibly die. So anyway, they say, oh crap, we only cut 1,800 hair follicles, not 3,000. And Matt, by the way, even though you're drugged out of your mind at this point, you've just had a piece of your scalp cut out, would you like us to remove the stitches, take another huge piece of your scalp out and get the other 1,200. And miraculously, by the way, on the second count, he cut out 1,111. So he came in pretty close to the additional 1,200. So then that means that either he didn't count the first time, didn't care to count, whatever the case is, the guy should be in jail, in my opinion, for just such an error. And, you know, my biggest contention is that, again, I have a huge scar from there to there. It's on the website. You told me I wouldn't have a scar. It would be barely noticeable. And you also told me to go with the FUT because it had a higher survival rate. I can tell you I didn't have much hair here. I didn't have much hair here, if any. And I can tell you that I have a huge bald spot. And you know what, let me just kind of turn around, you know, like here's a full, fair analysis that you can make your own assessment. If this helps, I hope this helps you. And this is my hair. With haircut 2. So if, you know, clip 2. So if it was shorter, you would see much more of the scalp and much more of the scar. But anyway, so if I had to guess, I'd say 300 of the hair follicles survived. So then he had a 60% error. He had a 90% failure rate, in my opinion. I'm sure I could literally count out the hair follicles that survived. And that's after 18 months. It should have been a 4 to 6 hour surgery from what I've been told after the fact, and I was there for 11 to 12 hours. And part of the reason I believe the hair follicles didn't survive was because they were exposed to the air for so long. And the other part is I don't know what the qualifications of the technicians were who jabbed me with needles all day long and implanted the hair, and the doctor oversaw them. It was just a complete nightmare. And had the 3,000 grafts survived, or even 2,500, and even though the guy completely messed up and left a huge scar, I would have been okay with that. I could have been able to grow out my hair and have it. And instead, I got this. And what does that mean? I'm still now going to have to go back for another surgery. I'm obviously not going to go to Maxim Hair because they don't know what they're doing. So anyway, what happened after the fact was, to move on, around 6 months, I started to text them and call them and tell them this doesn't look right. Whatever you guys didn't work. And around 9 months, I finally spoke with the doctor, had a FaceTime video with him because he was in New York City. I'm in Long Island, even though I went to the local Long Island office. And he said it looks like a lot of the hair didn't take, you know, blah, 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 yada, yada. And I said, no crap, what's the solution? And he said, give it a few more months. It takes 12 to 18 months for it to be fully mature and for all the hair to grow in. Long story short, around 12 months, I started making enough noise and complaining enough, and they finally called me in and they said, listen, if it doesn't do good, we will give you another hair transplant complimentary, 3,000 grafts. And I said, okay, fine, but I do not want Dr., I don't know how you can even call this guy a doctor, but Dr. Lawrence Bernard to do it again because A, he can't count, he can't transplant, I don't know what purpose this guy serves there other than, you know, having the credentials of a doctor, which he should not have. So I finally went back to get a consultation again for a transplant with somebody else. And I'm an accountant. They had me go in January, which is our busy time, for a 1 o'clock appointment or a 12:30 appointment. And after sitting there and waiting for a half hour, which, by the way, there was another unhappy customer there as well, I got up and I left. And I was apoplectic. I was absolutely irate, rightfully so. You know, not only did they waste my time for the last year at that point, or 14 months, they wasted my time for a half hour during tax season, which is a lot of money. I can tell you that. Plus, I had to drive there and everything else. And then they called me, and I nicely yelled at them. That phone call was recorded. By the way, when I was in the waiting room and I heard the other person complaining as well to them about their unhappy transplant, that was recorded. Everything that I'm talking about or saying here has been documented in one way, shape, or form or another. So it's not fluff, it's all black and white. And anyway, so their idea of the solution was to either give me another hair transplant, which they can't even keep an appointment, they can't find competent, capable staff, they can't count, or refund me my money. And of course, both of those things come with a clause that they wanted me to sign off on a contract. So I will dispute the charge with the credit card company, which thankfully I was smart enough to pay with the credit card and not a check or a money wire. And B, even if I lost the $10,000 or close to it, thankfully it wouldn't affect me. But their clause or their contingencies of having me sign off on additional contracts are completely absurd for multiple reasons. Number one is I went to you and you want to refund me my money for $10,000, except I'm way worse off now than I was, and I have to go somewhere else, and I have a huge scar, and you damaged the donor area, and I've lost a bunch of sleep, and I'm obviously clearly very frustrated. And to sign off on some other contingency agreement for you to do another hair transplant, assuming you have any competent, capable staff, technicians, doctors, would take another 12 to 18 months. And I am not willing to sign off on a contract that may limit my freedom of speech. So, Maxim, we will be going to court, and I will continue to utilize my voice through social media and YouTube and other outlets. Anyway, long story short is after they messed up and had me waste a half hour, which was really an hour and was a lot longer than that because then I was frustrated and angry and pissed off about them wasting my time to go there for a follow-up appointment with somebody else. I did say that they could send one of their doctors or one of their technicians to my office if they wanted to make it right, and they could do the consultation there, and then I would go back for the surgery. I tried working with them. They didn't want to work with me. I gave them the option. They didn't want to do it. So I do plan on filing a complaint with the medical board in New York State. On the websites, if you go to them, they're down below. Everything's been documented, including all the information about the doctor and the salesman, so you too can avoid going to them. And as this is a financial channel and a solution-oriented channel, what is the solution, right? Everybody gets hit with stuff that they don't like, that they don't appreciate. Yes, life is going to take a crap on you, and you're going to spend $10,000, you're going to lose $10,000, and somebody is going to leave a massive scar on the back of your head, worst case scenario, or whatever. And listen, at the end of the day, I have it good. A lot worse stuff has happened to a lot worse people, and thankfully, there's the court system, there's social media, there's outlets to prevent it, and if I wanted to go to have the scar lessened, I do have that option, and I will probably do that, and I will go for another hair transplant. And unfortunately, at this point, because the donor area is, I don't know how much of a donor area I even have left, if they have to pull for another hair transplant from my chest or my back or whatever, that's fine. The idea of being angry about it doesn't accomplish anything. And again, my solution for this video to get 100,000 views, for at least 1%, 1,000 people not to go to Maxim because of this video. So if you are looking, or if you know anybody who's looking or thinking about getting a hair transplant, please share this video with them. And of course, please like, comment, subscribe. This took me a lot of time to get my thoughts together and composure, and then type it up, and then speak about it and share about it. It's obviously embarrassing. I normally keep my hair longer so the scar is covered up in the back, but I literally wanted to shave it just for this video. I do have business meetings this week, and yes, it's very embarrassing. So I have to coordinate how I walk and talk with other people so that they don't see a massive scar on the back of my head. And I look like a total idiot because I'm still bald after they completely dropped the ball. So on that note, I hope this was helpful to you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, have a great rest of the day.